Ambassador Sujin Park felt the cold stares of 12 alien species burning into her as she stood in the center of the Great Hall aboard Harmony's Promise. The massive orbital station had served as neutral ground for the Galactic Council for over 1,000 years. Today, it would witness humanity's judgment. The crystalline beings of Zephyria hummed with angry energy, their translucent bodies pulsing with red light. The aquatic depth lords floated in their water-filled tanks, tentacles writhing with obvious displeasure. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 10 other species watched with expressions ranging from disgust to pity. Sujin had been Earth's ambassador to the Council for 5 years. She had worked tirelessly to build relationships, to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Now all of that effort was crumbling before her eyes. Council Speaker Threnix rose from his position at the center of the chamber. The insectoid leader of the Hive Collective stood nearly 3 meters tall, his 4 arms gesturing with mechanical precision. His compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights as he began to speak in his clicking, translated voice. "The charges against the species known as humans are as follows," Threnix announced, his words echoing through the vast space. "First, excessive militarization in violation of Council Doctrine 445. Second, refusal to surrender advanced weapons technology to Council oversight. Third, and most serious, violation of the sacred doctrine of controlled expansion." Sujin's jaw tightened. She had expected this moment for months, ever since the Council had begun questioning humanity's rapid spread across the galaxy. While the Zephyrians had taken 400 years to establish colonies on just 3 worlds, humans had terraformed and settled 47 planets in only 3 decades. "The evidence is clear," continued Threnix. "The human species expands at a rate that threatens galactic stability. They build weapons when they should seek peace. They colonize worlds without proper authorization or consideration for established boundaries." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The aquatic depth lords bubbled in their tanks, while the crystalline Zephyrians chimed in harmony. Sujin noticed that only the Felinoid Republic's representative remained silent, watching the proceedings with unreadable cat-like eyes. "Ambassador Park," Threnix said, turning his attention to her. "Do you wish to present a defense for your species?" Sujin stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "Honored Speaker, humanity has done nothing but follow our nature. We explore, we build, we grow. These are not crimes but gifts we bring to the galaxy." "Gifts." The word came from aquatic Lord Delphos, his translated voice dripping with scorn. "You call the militarization of 47 worlds a gift? You call the construction of battle fleets a contribution to peace?" "We build ships to protect what we have built," Sujin replied firmly. "We colonize empty worlds and make them bloom with life. We have never attacked another species or claimed worlds that belong to others." The crystalline being called Resonance spoke next, its voice like musical notes. "The speed of your expansion is unnatural. It disrupts the cosmic balance that has kept peace for millennia." Sujin looked around the chamber, seeing the closed minds and fearful faces of beings who had grown comfortable in their slow, careful existence. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "the problem is not that we move too fast, but that you have forgotten how to move at all." The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Threnix raised all 4 arms for silence. When quiet returned, his voice carried the weight of final judgment. "The Galactic Council has deliberated on this matter for months," he announced. "The decision is unanimous. The human species is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. All trade agreements are terminated immediately. All technological exchanges are forbidden. All cultural and scientific cooperation is ended." Sujin felt her chest tighten, but she kept her expression neutral. "Furthermore," Threnix continued, "humanity has 72 standard hours to evacuate all personnel from Council space. Any human vessels found in regulated sectors after this deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." The words hit like physical blows. Complete isolation. Cut off from the galaxy's trade networks, denied access to alien technologies, forbidden from the great councils of civilization. It was exile in its purest form. Captain Minho Lee, Sujin's military aide and longtime friend, stood beside her with rigid military bearing. She could see the anger in his eyes, carefully controlled but burning bright. Around them, the alien representatives began filing out of the chamber, their judgment delivered. As their shuttle departed Harmony's Promise for the last time, Minho finally broke the heavy silence. "They think they've contained us, Ambassador?" Sujin watched the massive council station shrink in their view screen, its lights growing dim against the star field. Her lips curved into a grim smile that held no warmth but plenty of determination. They have no idea what they've just unleashed. The journey back to Earth gave her time to think. The Council believed they were punishing humanity for its aggressive expansion and military buildup. They thought isolation would force humans to slow down, to become more like them, careful, cautious, controlled. They were wrong. On Earth, President Hyjin Kim received the news in the emergency session of the United Earth Assembly. The Great Hall in Geneva fell silent as Sujin delivered her report. Then came the explosion of voices: anger, fear, demands for action. Kim stood at the podium, her small frame somehow commanding the attention of 500 representatives from every nation on Earth. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "The Galactic Council has made their choice," she declared, her words broadcast to every corner of human space. "They have decided that humanity is too dangerous, too unpredictable, too alive for their comfortable, stagnant galaxy." The chamber quieted, hanging on her every word. "They think exile is punishment. They believe cutting us off from their networks will cripple us. They imagine that without their guidance, we will wither and fade." Kim's eyes blazed with fierce pride. "The Council has given us a gift. They have freed us from their limitations, their fears, their small thinking." She raised her fist to the assembly, her voice rising to fill the vast space. "Today humanity stands alone. Tomorrow we stand supreme." 2 years had passed since the Council cast humanity into exile, and the solar system had transformed into something unrecognizable. Where once there had been quiet research stations and modest mining operations, now massive construction projects stretched across space like metal spiderwebs. The Luna shipyards had grown beyond all expectations. What started as a simple orbital platform around Earth's moon had become a complete ring of interconnected factories, dry docks, and living quarters. Thousands of workers moved between the structures in small shuttles, their lights twinkling like stars against the black of space. Every day, new ships emerged from the construction bays, not the peaceful exploration vessels humanity had built before, but something entirely different. On Mars, the red planet's surface bristled with the towers and domes of the Prometheus Research Complex. The facility sprawled across hundreds of square kilometers, its silver buildings reflecting the weak Martian sunlight. Deep underground, in laboratories that had never existed during humanity's time in the Council, scientists worked around the clock on projects that would have been considered impossible just a few years earlier. Dr. Jiwoo Choi stood in the central laboratory, watching his team celebrate their latest breakthrough. The young scientist had been working for 18 months straight, sleeping only when exhaustion forced him to rest. His colleagues called him obsessed, but Jiwoo knew the truth: humanity's survival depended on what they accomplished in these sterile rooms. The device on the laboratory table looked simple enough, a metal cylinder no larger than a water bottle, covered in glowing blue patterns. But inside that innocent shell lay technology that could change everything. They called it the Kim Drive, named after the president who had given them unlimited resources to make it work. "The test results are perfect," announced Dr. Min-young Park, Jiwoo's second-in-command. "We can achieve faster-than-light travel without using any Council jumpgate technology. Our ships can go anywhere in the galaxy without asking permission from anyone." Jiwoo nodded, but his mind was already moving to the next challenge. They had solved faster-than-light travel, but that was only the beginning. In other laboratories throughout the complex, his colleagues were working on weapons, shields, and manufacturing systems that would make humanity independent of alien technology forever. The first real test of their work came sooner than expected. Captain Soare Kong received the emergency transmission while her ship hung in space near the colony world of New Geneva. The message was short and threatening. A Council patrol had discovered the human settlement and was demanding immediate evacuation. Soare looked at the 3 alien vessels approaching her position. Each one was twice the size of her ship, bristling with the energy weapons that had made the Council masters of space for over 1,000 years. Under normal circumstances, a single human vessel would have no choice but to retreat. But the UES Defiance was not a normal ship. "Council vessels, this is Captain Kong of the Earth Defense Fleet," she broadcast on an open channel. "You are in human territory. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The reply came in the clicking voice of a Hive Collective commander. "Human vessel, you are in violation of Council regulations. Surrender your ship and prepare for escort to the nearest detention facility." Soare smiled coldly. "I don't think so." The first Council ship fired without warning, sending a stream of bright energy toward the Defiance. The beam struck the human vessel's shields and simply vanished, absorbed by technology the aliens had never seen before. "Impossible," came the transmitted voice of the enemy commander. "You haven't seen anything yet," Soare replied. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. The human ship moved like a dancer, avoiding the clumsy alien vessels with grace and speed that seemed to mock the laws of physics. When the Defiance finally fired back, its weapons tore through Council shields as if they were made of paper. 2 enemy ships died in bright explosions that lit up the space around New Geneva. The third vessel, its hull cracked and atmosphere bleeding into space, struggled to escape the system. Soare could have destroyed it easily, but she chose to let it go. "Let them carry word back to the Council," she told her crew. "Let them know what we've become." As the damaged alien ship limped away, more vessels appeared around New Geneva, dozens of human ships decloaking like ghosts becoming solid. The colonists on the planet below watched in amazement as their protectors revealed themselves. They had never been alone. Humanity had been watching, waiting, preparing. Admiral Minho Lee reviewed the battle reports from his command center on Luna. The numbers told an incredible story: 0 human casualties, complete destruction of enemy forces, and the successful test of technologies that the Council had insisted were impossible for a species like humanity to develop. The Admiral had fought in the old days, when human ships were inferior to alien vessels in every way. Those days were over. The new human fleet used adaptive armor that could absorb and redirect energy attacks. Their weapons fired projectiles that could punch through any known shield technology. Most importantly, their ships could travel faster than anything the Council possessed. In the Prometheus complex on Mars, Dr. Jiwoo Choi examined pieces of wreckage recovered from the battle. His team had already identified 17 different technologies that could be reverse-engineered and improved. Each alien system they captured made humanity stronger and more independent. "The energy matrices are fascinating," reported Dr. Min-Young Park as she studied a piece of crystalline alien technology. "We can adapt this design to improve our own power systems by at least 30%. Jiwoo nodded absently, his mind already racing ahead to the implications. Every battle would bring them more alien technology to study. Every victory would make them stronger. The Council had tried to contain humanity by cutting them off from galactic civilization, but instead they had created something far more dangerous, a species with nothing left to lose and everything to gain. He turned to his assistant, a young engineer named Taemin who had barely slept in weeks. "Send a message to President Kim," he said quietly. "Tell her the tests are complete. Our technology works perfectly. We're ready for Phase 3. As the message traveled toward Earth at light speed, humanity's transformation continued. In shipyards around the solar system, new vessels took shape, not just warships but colony ships, mobile factories, and research vessels that would carry human civilization to the farthest corners of the galaxy. The Council had wanted to keep humanity in a cage. Instead, they had given them the motivation to break every cage in existence. 5 years had passed since the Council threw humanity out into the cold darkness of space. Now, as Emperor Hyejin Kim stood in the command center of Luna Fortress, she could see the fruits of that exile spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. The holographic display before her showed 200 star systems, each one marked with the blue symbol of human presence. What had started as a handful of desperate colonies had grown into something the galaxy had never seen, an empire that expanded faster than anyone thought possible. "Status report," Kim commanded, her voice carrying the authority of absolute leadership. The people of Earth had elected her emperor by unanimous vote, recognizing that desperate times required strong leadership. Colonel Eugene Bay stepped forward with a data tablet. "Agricultural worlds are producing food for 60 million colonists across 40 systems. Industrial worlds have 17 major shipyards online, building everything from colony ships to battle cruisers. Research worlds have made breakthrough discoveries in biotechnology, weapon systems, and faster-than-light communication." Kim nodded, studying the numbers. The three-pronged strategy had worked perfectly. Agricultural worlds grew food using advanced terraforming technology that could turn barren rocks into green paradises in less than 2 years. Industrial worlds churned out everything humanity needed to keep expanding: ships, weapons, tools, and machines. Research worlds pushed the boundaries of science, making discoveries that left alien scientists speechless. At the center of it all sat Sol, the birthplace of humanity. But Earth's solar system had become much more than just another star system. Luna Command had grown from a simple moon base into a massive fortress city that stretched across the lunar surface. It served as both capital and symbol of human power. "Ma'am," reported Admiral Soare Kong from the military section. "Our mobile construction platforms are working beyond all expectations. Fleet Group 7 built and launched 30 new destroyers while traveling to the Kepler system. Fleet Group 12 established a complete orbital defense network around New Terra without using any local resources. Kim smiled grimly. The mobile battle stations had been her idea, entire cities in space that could travel between stars while building new ships, weapons and defenses. It meant that human fleets grew stronger during long journeys instead of weaker. The success had not gone unnoticed. Deep in Council space, the 12 species that had once ruled the galaxy watched human expansion with growing fear. Emergency meetings were held on every major world. Military leaders who had not fought a real war in centuries suddenly found themselves planning for conflict. The breaking point came when human scouts were detected in the Nexus sector, only 50 light-years from the Council's capital world. Panic spread through the alien governments like a plague. Council Speaker Threnix stood before the emergency assembly, his insectoid form clicking with agitation. The human infestation has grown beyond all acceptable limits. They now control 200 systems and show no signs of slowing their expansion. If we do not act now, they will consume the entire galaxy. The crystalline beings of Zephyria hummed in agreement. Their very existence threatens the cosmic balance. They must be eliminated completely. From their water-filled chamber, the Depth Lords bubbled their consent. Total destruction is the only solution. The human plague must be cleansed from the stars. Thus was born Operation Cleansing Light, the largest military action in galactic history. 5,000 ships from all 12 Council species would converge on the Sol system. Their mission was simple: kill every human in existence and destroy every trace of their civilization. Fleet Admiral Zethkri of the Zephyrian Navy was chosen to lead the attack. The legendary commander had won every battle he had ever fought in his 300-year career. His flagship, the massive Eternal Harmony, was the most powerful vessel the Council had ever built. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what happens to species that threaten the cosmic order, Zethkri announced to his fleet commanders. The humans will be remembered only as a cautionary tale. The Great Armada moved towards Sol like a wave of death, confident in their overwhelming numbers and superior technology. They expected to find a desperate humanity cowering behind whatever defenses they had managed to build around their home world. Admiral Minho Lee waited for them at the heliopause, the edge of the solar system where interstellar space began. His grand fleet numbered only 800 vessels, but each ship represented the cutting edge of human military technology. Council fleet detected at maximum sensor range, reported Captain Teho Park from the sensor station. Estimated 5,000 vessels of all classes. Let them come, Lee replied calmly. Everything is ready. The Council fleet entered the outer solar system in perfect formation, energy weapons charging for the massacre they expected to deliver. Zethkri studied the tactical display showing the small human fleet waiting for them. Is this all they can muster? He asked his aide. 800 ships against 5,000? The humans have truly lost their minds. That was when the trap revealed itself. Hidden throughout the outer solar system, massive defense platforms suddenly came online. Asteroid bases that had appeared to be nothing more than space rocks opened to reveal powerful weapons. Entire moons lit up with defensive systems that had been carefully camouflaged for years. The solar system itself had become a fortress. The battle lasted 3 days and nights. Council ships that had seemed invincible found their shields useless against human weapons. Energy beams that should have destroyed human vessels were absorbed and redirected back at their sources. Alien commanders who had planned for easy victory instead watched their fleets burn. By the end of the third day, 3/4 of the Great Council Armada drifted dead in space. The survivors huddled around the damaged Eternal Harmony, waiting for the final blow that would end their lives. Instead, they received a transmission from Admiral Lee. Council fleet, you have fought bravely, but the battle is over. Surrender now and your survivors will be treated with honor. Admiral Zethkri stared at his ruined command bridge, at the dead screens and sparking consoles. In his 3 centuries of life, he had never imagined such a defeat was possible. I surrender, he broadcast to the human fleet. Then, almost to himself, he whispered the words that would echo through history. You are no longer the species we exiled. What have you become? The question would haunt the galaxy for generations to come. News of the Council's crushing defeat spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. On every world, in every space station, beings who had lived their entire lives under Council rule tried to understand what had just happened. The humans, those primitive newcomers who had been cast out just 5 years ago, had destroyed the greatest military force in galactic history. On Zephyr Prime, the crystal towers that housed the government buzzed with panicked energy. Emergency meetings ran day and night as the crystalline beings tried to make sense of their new reality. High-resonance Vexera, leader of the Zephyrian people, pulsed with colors that showed deep fear. "How is this possible?" she chimed to her advisors. "The humans had no advanced technology when we exiled them. They were barely capable of faster-than-light travel. Now they destroy our fleets as if they were toys." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The aquatic depth lords abandoned their surface cities and retreated to the deepest parts of their ocean worlds, hoping that the crushing water pressure might protect them from human weapons. The rock-like beings of the Stone Empire began building massive underground bunkers, while the gas-dwelling sky dancers started moving their cities to the most remote parts of their atmosphere. Each species faced the same terrifying question. If they had been so wrong about humanity's capabilities, what else had they been wrong about? The foundation of their understanding of the galaxy was cracking. Emperor Hygiene Kim stood on the bridge of the captured Council flagship, now renamed Human Ascendant. The massive vessel had been the pride of the alien fleet, equipped with weapons and shields that represented 1,000 years of technological advancement. Now it served as a symbol of humanity's rise to power. "Open a channel to all inhabited worlds," Kim commanded. "Broadcast on every frequency." The communication array came online, sending her image and voice to billions of beings across the galaxy. When she spoke, her words were calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. "People of the galaxy," she began, "the old order is dead. For too long, the Council has kept your species locked in cages of fear and control. They told you that slow progress was wisdom, that caution was virtue, that staying in your place was the natural way of things." She paused, letting the words sink in across countless worlds. "The Terran Empire offers you something different. We offer partnership instead of domination, growth instead of stagnation, hope instead of fear. Join us willingly as equals, and together we will build a galaxy where every species can reach its full potential. Refuse and you will be conquered and absorbed anyway. The choice is yours." The response came faster than anyone expected. Ambassador Felasha of the Felinoid Republic arrived at Luna Command just 3 days after the Emperor's broadcast. The cat-like being walked through the human fortress with grace and dignity, her whiskers twitching as she took in the incredible sights around her. Emperor Kim received her in the main conference room, surrounded by human military leaders and government officials. Felasha approached without hesitation and, to everyone's surprise, knelt on the floor in the traditional gesture of surrender. "Your Imperial Majesty," she said in her purring voice, "the Felinoid Republic offers unconditional surrender and requests to join the Terran Empire as autonomous allies." Kim raised an eyebrow. "That was quick. May I ask why?" Felasha's eyes gleamed with intelligence. "We have been watching your species since you first appeared in Council space. We noticed something that the others missed. You do not simply conquer your enemies, you absorb them. You take their best qualities and make them part of your own strength. You make your enemies into your children." The feline diplomat stood gracefully. "We have seen how you treat the captured Council personnel. They are not slaves or prisoners but students learning new ways of thinking. We have seen how you incorporate alien technologies into your own designs, making them better than they were before. This is not conquest, this is evolution." Kim smiled, impressed by the alien's insight. "You are very perceptive, Ambassador. What does your government propose?" "We offer our technology, our resources, and our loyalty. In return, we ask only that you allow us to govern ourselves as we see fit, as long as we serve the greater good of the Empire." The agreement was signed within hours, creating the first alien member state of the Terran Empire. Word of the Felinoid alliance spread quickly, and it opened the floodgates. Within months, 17 Council species had broken ranks and joined the humans. Each brought something valuable. The Crystalline Collective offered their energy manipulation technology, the Metal Shapers provided advanced manufacturing techniques, and the Plant Growers shared their biological engineering secrets. Most importantly, they brought detailed intelligence about Council weaknesses, military positions, and the locations of hidden weapons caches. The remaining 5 Council species, led by the fanatical Hive Collective, retreated to their most fortified positions. Speaker Threnix, the insectoid leader who had pronounced humanity's exile, gathered the survivors around Nexus Prime, the Council's ancient capital world. "We will make our final stand here," he clicked to his desperate allies. "If we cannot stop the humans at our most sacred world, then truly the galaxy is lost." Nexus Prime was more than just a planet, it was a fortress that had been built over thousands of years. Orbital defense platforms surrounded it like a metal shell. Ancient weapons, some dating back to the Council's founding, were brought online for the first time in centuries. Emperor Kim led the final assault personally, commanding from the bridge of the Terran Sovereign, a massive dreadnought that combined human engineering with technologies from a dozen alien species. Around her, hundreds of ships from the new Terran Empire prepared for the ultimate battle. The fight for Nexus Prime lasted 3 terrible days. Ancient alien weapons that could crack planets met human shields that bent the laws of physics. Ships died in brilliant explosions while others pressed forward through storms of deadly energy. When the smoke finally cleared, the 1,000-year-old Council complex lay in ruins. The orbital platforms drifted dead in space, their weapons forever silenced. In the wreckage of the Capitol building, Speaker Threnix knelt before Emperor Kim, his proud insectoid form broken by defeat. "I pronounce your exile ended," he whispered, using the same words he had spoken 5 years earlier. "What have we created by casting you out?" Kim looked down at the being who had started humanity's transformation from exiled refugees to galactic emperors. "You created exactly what the galaxy needed," she replied. "Something new." 10 years had passed since the day the Galactic Council threw humanity into exile. Now, as Emperor Hygiene Kim walked through the gardens of Luna City, she could barely recognize the galaxy that had once rejected her species. The view from her palace windows showed a sight that would have been impossible to imagine a decade ago. Beings from hundreds of different worlds moved through the streets below, crystalline Zephyrians walked beside furry felinoids, while aquatic depth lords floated in mobile water tanks next to towering rock-like stone shapers. All of them wore the blue and silver uniforms of imperial citizens. Kim herself had changed as well. At 73 years old, she should have been frail and gray, but advanced medical technology had given her the body and energy of someone half her age. Her eyes still held the same fierce intelligence that had guided humanity through its darkest hours. "Your Majesty," called a familiar voice. Dr. Jiwoo Choi approached across the garden, his arms full of data tablets and his face bright with excitement. The young scientist who had helped develop humanity's first faster-than-light drive was now the Empire's chief science advisor, responsible for keeping 8,000 star systems connected and functioning. "What breakthrough have you discovered this time, Doctor?" Kim asked with a smile. Jiwoo's discoveries had become as regular as the sunrise. "Something that will change everything, Majesty. We've perfected instantaneous communication across any distance." He held up a small device that looked like a crystal flower. "Every world in the Empire can now talk to every other world in real time. No delays, no message losses, no communication breakdowns." Kim took the device, feeling its warm hum against her palm. "How is this possible?" "We combined human quantum physics with Zephyrian energy manipulation and felinoid precision engineering. The Council never thought to mix technologies from different species, but we do it naturally now." Jiwoo's eyes gleamed with pride. "The Council always thought in terms of species, us versus them, our technology versus theirs. We think in terms of individuals, what can each person contribute regardless of where they come from. That's why we won." The transformation went far beyond technology. The old council chambers on Nexus Prime had been rebuilt as the Imperial Senate, where representatives from every member world debated policy and made decisions together. Former enemies sat side by side, their arguments now focused on making life better for their citizens rather than protecting their species from each other. On Earth itself, the cities had become beautiful mixtures of architectural styles from across the galaxy. Human buildings stood next to crystalline Zephyrian towers and organic felinoid domes. Children played in parks where Earth trees grew beside alien plants that glowed with their own inner light. Most remarkable of all, humanity itself was changing. Voluntary genetic modifications allowed humans to adapt to alien environments. Some could breathe underwater like the Depth Lords, others could survive in the vacuum of space like the Stone Shapers. Some humans chose to enhance their minds with crystalline implants that let them think faster, while others modified their bodies to be stronger or more agile. But they remained human at heart, with the same drive to explore, build, and grow that had carried them from exile to empire. Far from the capital, on a world called New Terra in what had once been the heart of Council space, a small scene played out that captured the essence of the new galaxy. 8-year-old Yuna sat in a garden with her friends, laughing as they played a game that mixed human rules with alien traditions. Yuna was fully human, but her best friend Kritok was a young Zephyrian whose crystal body sparkled in the sunlight. Another friend, Softpaw, was a felinoid child whose fur changed colors with her moods. The garden around them showed the same mixing. Earth roses grew next to Zephyrian crystal flowers, while felinoid singing vines hummed gentle melodies in the breeze. It was a place where the best of many worlds had come together to create something entirely new. Captain Soare Kong sat on a nearby bench watching the children play. The old woman had commanded one of humanity's first warships during the dark days of exile. Now, in her retirement, she served as the children's teacher and guardian of their community's history. "Grandma Soare," Yuna called out, running over to her with dirt on her dress and flowers in her hair. "Tell us the story again. About when humans were alone." Soare chuckled, her weathered face crinkling with fond memories. She had told this story 1,000 times, but the children never grew tired of hearing it. "Once upon a time, little one, the galaxy was a very small place," she began, using the same word she always used. "The council thought they could keep every species in neat little boxes, never mixing, never changing, never growing. They thought they could contain human ambition behind walls of fear and regulation." The alien children gathered around as well, their different faces all showing the same fascination with the tale. They didn't understand that humans don't just adapt to their environment, we transform it. We take what exists and make it better. We take enemies and make them friends. We take separate worlds and make them into one big family. Soare's eyes twinkled as she continued. "The council gave us exile, thinking it was punishment. Instead, they gave us the entire universe." As the twin suns of New Terra began to set, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, the imperial flag fluttered in the alien breeze above the garden. The flag showed a stylized Earth surrounded by thousands of stars, each one representing a member world of the Terran Empire. Humanity had been cast out as unwanted outcasts. They had returned as beloved emperors who ruled not through fear, but through the simple promise that everyone could be part of something bigger and better than what came before. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how humanity wanted it.